Hi guys, welcome to my channel on which I'll share either my custom painted miniature and scale model kit projects or pre-painted price and scale figure collection. Today I'll be doing the latter. This is the third Taito artist masterpiece figure in my collection, and this time around we'll be going back to where it all started. That is the first ever Taito artist masterpiece figure released way back in early 2021. This honor belongs to a character from the ReZero starting life in another world, namely Rem in the Maid image version. Taito wasn't kidding when they claimed that the Rem Maid image version was the largest one in their prize figure lineup. The box is the largest size yet I've seen used for Taito's prize figure range. And as you can see here, this allows Taito to fill it with some amazing photos of Rem for the box art. We'll start by taking a look at the front box art, which is a close-up of Rem in her Maid costume. The shiny artist masterpiece logo is Taito's way of letting you know that this is a premium price figure. The amazing photos were taken by Vice Star Studio, the figure sculpted by Akimofu, while color production was by Ikoshi. Here are the side and back views of the Rem Maid, yet more delightful images of Rem by Vice Star. With the usual box art perusal complete, let's now see what we have inside the box. I'm actually zoomed a fair way out from my usual camera position in relation to the work map so that I can fit most of the box within the frame of the video. Not only is this box big, but it's also quite heavy. And as you can see here, the Rem Maid figure is encased within a large plastic blister at the back and another one about 1/3 of the size located in front. The figure is actually also covered with some soft plastic wrap for additional protection. Now, I'm going to remove the blister first by cutting the tape that's holding them in place. With the front blister out of the way, I can now get to the figure itself, removing it from the plastic wrappings first, of course. Now the base or display stand can be found in its own protective plastic bags that are taped to the back of the larger plastic blisters, as you can see here. And as I'm cutting the base free from the blister, I can just about make out two separate pieces that are going to make up the base itself or the display stand. As you can see by my struggle to free the pieces of the base, Taito has really put a lot of care into preventing damage to the base or display stand parts. I can understand why Taito is doing this, as you will soon see, one part of the display stand looks quite fragile. Just bear with me as I put away the majority of the protective plastic blisters and wrappings. Soon you'll see, as I mentioned, why Taito went to all that trouble to give the base or display stand so much added protection. Now, Rem on the right came all in one single complete piece, hence for her at least, no assembly is required at all. So we are nearly there. Not quite yet though, as there's so much plastic to deal with just to get the parts of the base out from their wrappings. What I'm removing from the plastic bag now is the giant recreation of a snowflake, the so-called fragile looking piece. This is the part of the base that Rem is going to stand on. Meanwhile, that clear round plastic piece is where the snowflake in turn will rest on. Now, before we put all of them together, as in assemble them, let's look at each of the three parts in close detail first. Rem comes in one whole complete piece, so any assembly will involve mainly the two-piece base and the attachment of Rem onto the snowflake display stand. But before we do any of that, let's first look at Rem and her display stand in close detail. We'll start off with Rem in her Maid attire. Without a doubt, this is one of the best facial expressions belonging to a Rem prize figure. She's just beaming with pure joyful delight. Her likeness to the anime character is evident not only in her face, but also in the way her blue hair parts at the fringes, her hairband, and the accompanying pink ribbon on it. Meanwhile, Rem's maid outfit has been modified somewhat to suit the winter weather. For example, it being completely covered up in the cleavage area compared to her outfit in warmer climes when it's more revealing. It also has woolen fringes on the sleeves and the hems of her skirt. As you can see here, the insides of her skirt have a texture akin to woolly material too. There's no change to her usual white stockings and black shoes though. Rem shoes have holes in them for fitting onto the pegs of the display stand or base. Speaking of which, is an oversized snowflake in the clear blue plastic. This snowflake in turn attaches to a flat, clear round base that I'm holding with my left hand. Despite looking fragile, the snowflake is actually quite sturdy in its build, as is the clear round base. I guess they have to be sturdy in order to support the Rem figurines' weight. We'll begin the assembly process by first putting together the display stand comprising that giant snowflake and the clear round base. The snowflake has two pegs at its bottom side, which will be attached to the holes on the clear round base in my right hand. The round base is a completely clear piece, while the snowflake has a clear blue color to it. Now, after attaching to the round base, the snowflake is actually tilted at a slight angle like you see here. As pointed out earlier, there is a hole in each of Rem's shoes that I'm trying to align to the pegs on the snowflake here, which isn't actually easy to do considering that the pegs are quite hard to spot on the clear colored snowflake. But it's doable, you just have to be extra careful when handling that giant snowflake. While it's certainly sturdy, the many long and thin protruding sections on the snowflake makes it vulnerable to damage. Excessive force will likely cause the protruding points to snap or break off. From this angle, you can catch a much clearer glimpse of how the snowflake is tilting against the clear round base, and having the snowflake tilt actually makes it more visible when the figure is viewed from the front. Rem's posture isn't affected by this tilt, as Taito has compensated for this during the sculpting and design process of her pose. So that's the Taito AMP Rem Wintermaid image version figure fully attached to her display stand. Let's now proceed to the full 360-degree view. The first thing that grabs my attention is just how large this Rem Wintermaid figure is. Measuring about 27 centimeters in height, from the clear round base to the top of her head, she is about roughly 1/7 scale, which is huge for a prize figure. Figures of this size are usually found in the more expensive and higher quality painted scale figures, or in special edition Ichiban Kuji or Ichiban Show prize figures. Rem has on a winter version of her Maid costume, which has a simple color scheme comprising good deep blacks and neutral whites for her outfit, and off-whites for her stockings. Rem also adopts an adorable pose, which looks like she had just spun around towards the camera in order to show off her Wintermaid outfit. That suggestion of movement makes it a dynamic looking pose. Add to that the size of the figure and the angled snowflake display stand, which increases its visibility when viewed from the front, and you have a figure with fantastic shelf presence. Her posture is sculpted in such a way that she does not look like she's standing awkwardly, even though she is essentially standing on a downward sloping floor or base. Instead, her pose looks natural, and it actually manages to convey her delight at showing off her outfit. Her ensemble is completed by her iconic flower-adorned headband with pink ribbons and hair clip, as well as a pair of cute glossy black shoes. Let's now get up close and personal so that we can take a close-up detailed view at her upper, middle, and lower sections. Rem's adorably dynamic pose is complemented by the wonderful expression on her face. Her facial features, from the faint blush on her cheeks to her open mouth smile, in which you can see both her tongue and teeth, as well as her twinkling eyes, all exhibit a joyful delight of being able to show off her Wintermaid attire. Although only one eye is readily visible through her hair bangs or fringes, you can tell that the size of her eye is perfectly scaled to the size of her head. Most of her hair is in a solid blue color, except for the ends of her fringe, which to my eyes look a bit semi-opaque, with some clear pink hues airbrushed over clear blue hues. I love the way both her arms are stretched out on either side of her in an open palm gesture, which together with her open mouth smile makes it seem like Rem is saying, "Ta-da, so how do I look?" This pose is made even more realistic by the way her back arches inwards, thus making it look like Rem is puffing out her chest with pride. That this makes her look buxom is perhaps intentional on Taito's part. However, I feel that it's been tastefully done. And of course, Rem is not complete without her flower-adorned headband and that pink ribbon bow on the side. Because this is a maid attire for the winter season, Rem's upper arm, back and chest or cleavage is completely covered up. Her normal maid attire is different in that the aforementioned areas are not covered up, thus leaving all the areas exposed. Rem's skirt also seems longer in that the winter version has a hem that's below her knees versus the normal skirt version which is above the knees. In line with having a longer skirt, her apron also becomes longer and slightly larger as a consequence. Meanwhile, the wing-like extensions on the back of her skirt has been removed for this winter version maid attire. However, the ribbon bow remains on her back. Material extensions in the form of woolen frills on the hems of her sleeve and skirt give the maid attire a wintry theme. This theme continues on with the woolen-like texture being extended to the insides of her skirt. The bottom half of this Rem winter maid figurine is pretty simple, but it's in line with the overall black and white color scheme of the attire. And at this angle, you can actually get a better view of the woolen texture that covers the insides of Rem's skirt. Taito did fairly well with the way they position her legs, so that Rem doesn't look like she's standing at an awkward pose due to the slanting base her feet are resting on. Speaking of which, the huge snowflake is molded mainly in clear light blue with a hint of light pink in limited areas. Looking at the amount of effort Taito has seemingly put in to sculpt such a detailed looking snowflake, it stands to reason why they had made the decision to tilt it at an angle. What this does is to increase the visibility of the snowflake when the entire figure is viewed directly from the front. Her stockings lack any form of texture and are just molded in semi-gloss off-white. Her shoes look like they have been painted a glossy black, but with some black paint bleeding into her stockings. This Taito AMP Rem Wintermaid image version price figure certainly has some good and not so good things about it. Perhaps most importantly, Taito did a bang-up job with the sculpt, details and paint job for Rem's head and face. Not only do the facial features very much resemble Rem the character, they also give her a cute expression that go hand in hand, pun unintended, with her hand gestures, both combining to create an adorable looking pose. Rem's vivid blue hair with clear purple shading on the edge of her bangs or fringe, coupled with the bright pinks of the flower ribbon and clip on her hair, the varied blues of her eyes and eyebrows, the blush on her cheeks as well as the orangey pinks of her tongue that serves as a backdrop for her white teeth, all of this together with the skin tone serve to break up the monotonous colour scheme of her black and white maid attire. Notwithstanding that boring colour scheme, the details on her maid attire are well sculpted, with creases and folds at the right places to mimic dynamic movement of Rem twirling around to show off her outfit. Then there is that hugely detailed snowflake display stand which looks fantastic. It's rare for prize figures to have such nicely sculpted bases. In fact, most mid-tier figures and some upper-tier scale painted figures don't even have bases with this kind of detail. Of course, other little details like the ribbon bow on her back, the apron at the front, etc. all combine to make it a cute-looking maid outfit. However, this Taito AMP prize figure isn't perfect by any means. The paint job on the maid attire sees some of the white lines on Rem's skirt hem bleed into the black sections, so the lines were not clean. Similarly, the black paint on her glossy shoes also bled into her off-white stockings. As such, this Rem Wintermaid figure does not escape from the issue that plagues most prize figures, that is, a lack of quality control on the general paint job. One thing this Taito AMP Rem Wintermaid image version figure does not lack is shelf presence. It's one of the largest prize figures I've come across with a height of 27 centimeters, more akin to a 1/7 scale figure. That coupled with the many positives I just mentioned make this Taito artist masterpiece maiden effort a must-have, especially if you're a ReZero fan like me. I'm giving this Rem Wintermaid a rating of Diamond or A rank. Yes, you can find faults with it, but all is forgiven when you consider its low price point. Remember, it's only a price figure, albeit a premium one. Well, that's it for this review. Thanks so much for watching. Take care and be well.